Good afternoon from the Asia Europe Foundation in Singapore. My name is Leonie Nagarajan from ASEF's Education Department, and together with Voradon Lerdrat, a youth leader from Thailand, I warmly welcome you to the ASEF Youth Dialogue Series with ASEM Leaders. This dialogue series is part of the 4th ASEF Young Leaders Summit, which is the official youth side event of the upcoming 13th ASEM Summit in Cambodia. The ASEF Young Leaders Summit focuses on the theme Sustainable Development in a Post-COVID-19 World, and we organize the youth dialogues with ASEM leaders to ensure a good exchange of perspectives and visions on sustainable development between youth leaders and political leaders. Today, following our introduction session last week, we will organize the first ASEM Youth Dialogue on Sustainable Development Goal 3, Good Health and Wellbeing. We had looked forward to welcoming His Excellency Mr. Don Boramatwinai, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Thailand. However, he was called away for an urgent meeting at short notice. We are fortunate to have with us Her Excellency Ms. Pornpimol KANCHANALAK, the advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who graciously will join us today on his behalf. Before we start our conversation, which will be led by youth leaders, we would like to invite ASEF's Executive Director, Ambassador Toru Morikawa, to welcome Her Excellency Mrs. Pornpimol KANCHANALAK and our audience. Ambassador Morikawa, please.
Your Excellency, Mrs. Pornpimol KANCHANALAK, Advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Thailand. Youth participants, representatives of partner organizations and distinguished guests. 25 years ago, in March 1996, the first Asia-Europe Meeting Summit was held in Bangkok. Upon the invitation by the Government of the Kingdom of Thailand, leaders of 7 ASEAN countries, China, Japan, Korea, as well as 15 European Union states and the European Commission, met to inaugurate the Asia-Europe meeting process, or ASEM. The aim of this bi-regional partnership, which since then has been growing to 53 partners, was to promote peace, stability, and prosperity in Asia and Europe. ASEM was born in an era of optimism towards multilateral frameworks and international cooperation. It flourished in the belief that multi-level global governance is the way forward to tackle the diverse global challenges. Multilateralism has come under threat in recent years. However, the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, which led to one of the biggest human crises since World War II, has demonstrated again the necessity of fostering global and regional cooperation. The pandemic has underscored our interconnectedness and interdependencies. As the recent COVID-19 ASEM ministerial statement highlights, the virus does not distinguish between continents, borders, nationalities, or ethnicity. Combating the COVID-19 pandemic requires concerted international cooperation and global solidarity. 25 years ago, the political dialogue process, ASEM, was launched by Asian and European leaders in Bangkok. It is symbolic that today we initiate another dialogue process, again with the support of the Government of Thailand, the ASEF Youth Dialogues with ASEM Leaders. These youth dialogues facilitate junior-senior leadership exchanges, as well as open and constructive discussions on pertinent bi-regional matters and sustainable development. On behalf of the Asia Europe Foundation, and together with our Cambodian and international partner organizations, I would like to warmly welcome and express our deep gratitude to Her Excellency Mrs. Pornpimol KANCHANALAK, Advisor to the Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Thailand, for being with us today for the first ASEF Youth Dialogue on Sustainable Development Goal 3, Good Health and Wellbeing. There is no doubt that this goal is of primary importance for all of us, not only in these uncertain times, but also for our joint future. I wish you an inspiring session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Morikawa, for your warm welcome and also for sharing with us the strong connections between Thailand, the ASEM process, and ASEF's education projects. I would like to hand over now to my MC colleague, Voradon, who will extend a welcome in Thai.
ครับสวัสดีแขกท่านผู้มีเกียรตินะครับผู้แทนผู้นำเยาวชนเอเชียยุโรปและผู้เข้าร่วมรับฟังทุกท่านนะครับขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่กิจกรรมการพบปะหารือระหว่างผู้นำเยาวชนกับผู้นำในรัฐบาลจากรัฐสมาชิกของการประชุมเอเชียยุโรปหรืออาเซียนครั้งที่1ในหัวข้อเป้าหมายการพัฒนาที่ยั่งยืนของสหประชาชาติเป้าหมายที่3สุขภาพและความเป็นอยู่ที่ดีครับในลำดับแรกต้องขอเรียนแจ้งว่าพณะท่านดอนประมัติวินัยรองนายกรัฐมนตรีและรัฐมนตรีว่าการกระทรวงการต่างประเทศแห่งราชอาณาจักรไทยไม่สามารถมาร่วมหารือกับพวกเราผู้นำเยาวชนเอเชียยุโรปในตามกำหนดการในวันนี้ได้นะครับในนามของคณะผู้จัดงานทางเราต้องขออภัยสำหรับความเปลี่ยนแปลงมาณที่นี้ครับอย่างไรก็ดีวันนี้เราได้รับเกียรติจากพณะท่านพรพิมลกาญจนลักษณ์ที่ปรึกษารัฐมนตรีว่าการกระทรวงการต่างประเทศแห่งราชอาณาจักรไทยมาเป็นผู้แทนร่วมหารือร่วมกับพวกเราโดยมีคนเลียวเนียนาการาจารย์ผู้อำนวยการฝ่ายการศึกษามูลนิธิเอเชียยุโรปและผมวรดลเลิศรัตน์ผู้นำเยาวชนไทยในที่ประชุมสุดยอดผู้นำเยาวชนเอเชียยุโรปครั้งที่4เป็นผู้ดำเนินรายการครับซึ่งเมื่อสักครู่ก็ต้องขอบพระคุณพณะท่านโทรุโมริคาวะเป็นอย่างสูงนะครับซึ่งเราจะเห็นจากสุนทรพจน์เปิดกิจกรรมในครั้งนี้ว่าประเทศไทยเนี่ยก็มีบทบาทสำคัญในการขับเคลื่อนกระบวนการอาเซียนมาโดยตลอดนับตั้งแต่แรกก่อตั้งในปีคศ1996เลยทีเดียวครับ
Thank you, Voradon. In today's session, we will take a close look at Sustainable Development Goal 3, and in particular, we focus on good health and well-being in Thailand, health and the economy, multilateralism and health. And we have 3 youth leaders, ASEFYLS4 representatives with us who will guide us through the session. A warm welcome to all of you. I'm happy to introduce you. We have first Charalambos Christodoulou from Cyprus. He is a student at the University of Patras Medical School, and Charalambos is also a board member of the Student Society of Cypriots and president of the Student Democratic Party of Patras. Then we have Saranchana Viryatavikun from Thailand. Saranchana holds a bachelor's degree in economics from Thammasat University and currently works as a consultant at Levante International Development. And last but not least, we have Pratibha Singh from New Zealand. Pratibha has recently completed a bachelor's degree on global studies and is currently working as a partnership lead for South Asia at the NGO Human Rights Measurement Initiative. We now have the honor to introduce Her Excellency Mrs. Pornpimol KANCHANALAK, Advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Thailand. Your Excellency, you have an impressive career in the political domain, in the media, as well as in business. And allow me to mention for our audience just a few milestones of your rich career. Since 2015, you have been advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, but you have been advisor to a number of ministers before, to the Minister of Transport, the Minister of Finance, and also to the Deputy Minister of Thailand, Deputy Prime Minister of Thailand. For almost 2 decades, you lived in the United States, where you worked as a researcher at the public policy think tank Hoover Institute and also as a lecturer at Stanford University. You were the Washington bureau chief for the Bangkok Post and Channel 9, and you are the founder of the US-Thailand Business Council. In Thailand, you had leading roles in investment firms and companies in the engineering and petrochemical industry. Borodon, I hand over to you.
ครับลำดับถัดไปนะครับผมขออนุญาตกล่าวแนะนำแขกผู้มาร่วมหารือกับพวกเราในวันนี้นะครับพณะท่านพรพิมล กาญจนาลักษณ์ที่ปรึกษารัฐมนตรีว่าการกระทรวงการต่างประเทศไทยครับท่านที่ปรึกษารัฐมนตรีถือเป็นผู้มีความรู้ความเชี่ยวชาญและประสบการณ์ทำงานในด้านการเมืองธุรกิจและสื่อมวลชนสูงยิ่งนะครับก่อนดำรงตำแหน่งปัจจุบันท่านเคยดำรงตำแหน่งที่ปรึกษารัฐมนตรีว่าการกระทรวงคมนาคมที่ปรึกษารองนายกรัฐมนตรีและรัฐมนตรีว่าการกระทรวงการคลังรวมถึงเคยเป็นอาจารย์ที่มหาวิทยาลัยสแตนฟอร์ดและนักวิจัยที่สถาบันคลังปัญญาด้านนโยบายสาธารณรัฐฮูเวอร์ณสหรัฐอเมริกาครับ It is an absolute pleasure and honor to have you with us today. May we invite you to share your views on the topic with us, and then our moderators will take over from there. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Your Excellency, Under Secretary of State Samten Bora of the Ministry of Commerce of Cambodia, Ambassador Morikaba Toru, Executive Director of ASEF Young Leaders, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Don Bramatvinai, greetings from Bangkok, Thailand. If there's anyone who is a firm believer and have a conviction in the role of youth, it is the Deputy Prime Minister Don. More than 20 years ago, he set up a foundation at the Foreign Ministry called Young Ambassadors Foundation. At the time that it wasn't very popular, but it survived 2020 and prospered. It's always a pleasure for me to young people such as yourself. I wish to commend ASEF for keeping the interaction in youth and the leaders of Asia and Europe, which will help ASEM leaders to remain seized of the issue that matter most to their people. The topic of our dialogue is SDG 3, Good Health and Wellbeing, which is particularly relevant given the ongoing COVID pandemic. Indeed, COVID has affected us all in ways both big and small. It is collective experience that, instead of bringing us together, has in reality forcing us apart. So these are difficult times, being together in this, but still alone. For many then, these are times of anxiety, isolation, disorientation, and disruption. But we have not gathered here today to dwell on the doom and gloom. Instead, we are here to exchange views to spark solutions for achieving SDG 3, both in terms of keeping us all disease-free and ensuring our well-being, particularly our mental health and ultimately our happiness. So how can we achieve SDG 3 for government? The key is the right policy mix, created with the input and idea of all sectors of society. For Thailand, achieving SDG 3 is guided by the 4 I's. And the first I is the inclusivity. At a minimum, this means that everyone should have access to affordable and quality healthcare services. Hence, universal healthcare coverage, or UHC, is a benchmark. Almost 20 years ago, Thailand made the intentional policy choice and commitment to advance UHC for our people and those who live and work on our soil. This is because healthcare is a basic human right. In addition to UHC, we have the so-called village health volunteers who operate countrywide, even in the most remote areas. Their efforts to help ensure that the local communities have access to essential healthcare services, and they have been recognized by WHO as a key factor in Thailand's successful strategy in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. Inclusivity also means that there is no one-size-fits-all healthcare policy, but that it must be tailored to the specific needs of different groups, such as migrant workers, women and youth, and doing so means that we will be leaving no one behind. The second I is innovation. Think telehealth, telemedicine. To fight the COVID-19 pandemic, Thailand has developed mobile application to contact trace, disseminate information, and enable registration to receive vaccines. The opportunities from new technologies are limitless, and I believe that you, the youth, can make significant contribution to improving public health with innovative solutions in the long run. But as you know, technology, like everything else in life, has a dark side too. Think cyberbullying and disinformation, and how they can affect mental health and well-being, as well as political stability. And you can think of the so-called cancel culture that is gaining strength around the world right now. And the global community, through platforms such as ASEM, should take action to ensure that our youth can connect with one another safely and responsibly without falling prey to disinformation and fake news. The third I is international cooperation. By now, you have surely heard the oft-touted tweet that no one is safe until everyone is safe. We must strengthen global public health policy coordination and respond to future pandemics, as well as give increased assistance to low-income countries to help them fight against the current pandemic and improve their health infrastructures in preparation for the next health emergency. The fourth I is individual implementation. We all desire good health, both physical and mental. We try to eat well, sleep well, and exercise regularly. For some, this may be wishful thinking, but I can assure you they work. We also try to have the right frame of mind too. Think seeking balance and moderation in what we do. Think also of being compassionate. If we can all manage this fourth I believe we can then do even more when it comes to ensuring that the other three I's can happen. And this will in turn help strengthening our ASEM community. To achieve this and more, ASEM and ASEF can play important role helping governments and all sectors of the society build and reinforce partnership and together find new and innovative solutions to the challenges of the day. ASEM is 25 years old this year. Let us use this special occasion to intensify our collective effort to help build an ASEM community of livable and healthy societies. The theme of this fourth ASEF Young Leaders Summit, Sustainable Development in the Post-COVID-19 World, is therefore most apt. This is, after all, your world, and you, the youth of Asia and Europe, will the power to shape it. And we, the older generation, will give you the support that you need. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Your Excellency, I would like to welcome you from Europe. Good afternoon from Limassol of Cyprus. During your speech, you have highlighted some topics that as a medical student, I found them extremely important. I'm sure we're going to have the time to discuss them furthermore during today's session. So I'm going to put them all on the table, and also with my co-moderators, we will discuss them one by one. Firstly, Your Excellency, I would like to ask your opinion about how can we maximize the access and inclusion. In other words, how can we provide equality and universal services, ensuring good health and well-being will be accessible to all, to also vulnerable and disadvantaged people?
We believe that healthcare, good healthcare, is a basic human right. That's why we initiated and adopted the universal health coverage, and we would like to extend. Not right now, we have about 99.85% coverage of all our of our population, including migrant workers and people who live in the country. We would like to expand it to include the civil society and community-based organization as well as the private sector. And together we can improve much more like life expectancy, access to healthcare at affordable rate, and improve the preventive alternative medicine so that we don't have to have to spend more money on treating the disease, but preventing them from happening.
Yeah, thank you, Excellency. I like also the point you mentioned about alternate medicine. And as a medical student, I can see this effort. Now, I would like to ask you something more about your country, about Thailand. What do you believe is the key quality of your country that can bring promotion to the SDG 3? In other words, I want to mention is about what Thailand is excelled on good health and well-being that other countries that can learn from Thailand and adapt your efforts to their healthcare system.
Again, I'm repeating myself, is a UHC and volunteerism that I mentioned in the remarks earlier. The mindset of community service that we would like to promote and cooperate with our neighbors on anybody who's interested in improving this volunteerism in those countries. Again, the alternative medicine for prevention of the diseases is something that we should focus on.
Thank you. It's very important you have mentioned the multilateralism in order to promote the health, because at today's dialogue, a lot of youth participate. I have a question about youth people. What roles do you believe governments can delegate to youth in order to promote the Sustainable Development Goal 3 meaningfully, especially during pandemic, where the future of many youth people have been put into a great uncertainty?
To answer your question, I like to quote President Kennedy. It's important for young people to ask not what the country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country and the world community at large. And this involves public service mindedness, responsibility, and digital skills are also important. That this is the world, the 21st century, the arrival of the fourth industrial revolution. So those skills they can help bring to promote the SDG 3 and try to engage and increase the engagement with the in the policy dialogue. Those are key factors I would like to encourage.
Thank you for your position. The last question from my side before giving the floor has to do with the fourth I you have mentioned during your initial speech. I want to ask you a more personal question. As a high-level governmental officer that you are, with various daily engagements, how do you take care your own mental and physical health?
The first question, physical health. At my age, it's laws of diminishing return applies. But again, you have to, if everything in moderation. You have to take it the way that what life gives you and then do the best you can. But for mental health, I think it's important because it's closely related to physical health. A lot of physical illness stem from mental problems. And with that, I would like to encourage everybody at my age, at any age, to have a positive mind. Positive thinking is important. To have open-minded, to be open-minded, and to let go. Sometimes holding on is more difficult than letting go. Just try. And I like to quote Emily Dickinson, and when she said, "If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life from aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain." And for me, I have to add, shall not die in vain. Thank you.
Your Excellency, I can agree 100% with you around mental health. And according to my opinion as a medical student, the great balance between mental health and physical health is the best. Now I will ask from the ASEF, before giving the floor, to share for me a word cloud on SDG 3, a graphical context, to comment on it. Thank you very much. As we can see here, Your Excellency, here we can see some answers. Some answers are the question that we have been asked at the previous session, what it means for us, the good health and well-being. And as we can see, and I can agree with you and with your topics and with your initial speech, mental health is the core and the central for all of us, for all the youths, both Europe and Asia. And I think mental health has to be the core at our strategies when we build our healthcare systems. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you from my side. Now I will pass the floor to my co-moderator, Ms. Sarah Chana from Thailand, to continue. Sarah Chana, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karalambos, and Sawadee Ka, Your Excellency. It's definitely not nostalgic for me to see this word cloud again. In fact, in the same session, we were introduced to the Social Progress Index as a new way to define the success of our societies independent of economic indicators. As someone with a development economics background, I'm curious to know whether you think that COVID-19 will pave the way for countries such as Thailand to focus on measuring economic success through achieving the health and well-being of their citizens, as opposed to traditional metrics such as the GDP.
Yes, thank you. It's a good question. I don't believe that we can do away with GDP in the near future. However, in addition to the GDP, some countries like Bhutan start having this Gross Happiness Index, or GHC, and they have been doing very, very well. King Rama the Ninth, he said that if you put the end goal of your life, if the end goal of your life is money, you end up with nothing in life. But if the end goal is happiness, then everything comes with it. So this is GDP is just the measurement is the framework. However, we have to make sure that everybody have their fair share in the economic growth or in the GDP growth. So it means that reducing this disparity of income, disparity of opportunities, and create an open society that everybody will have a place to stand and prosper.
Thank you so much. Speaking of happiness, I also recently read the World Happiness Report, and it's interesting. What the report found was that subjective well-being has been strikingly resilient in the face of COVID-19. So when we speak about resilience, I also think about economic resilience. What are the 3 key areas of prioritization that have been in the consideration of the Thai government to revive the economy in the post-COVID-19 world?
You want 3 priorities? Okay, well, fine. The first one is tourism. tourism before the COVID-19 contribute to the 20% of our GDP, and right now it's down to zero. Before COVID, we have about 40 million people visiting Thailand. Now we have almost close to zero. If we can get back 20 million by, I don't know, mid-year next year or next year, we have to ask our question, where do we redeploy the other 20 that could no longer sustain themselves with the reduced number of tourists? And one way of doing it is to change the nature of tourism from general tourism into high-value tourism, like cultural tourism, health tourism, and targeted tourism. We also have to find some way to redeploy the hospitality workers that are out of job, and infrastructure like hotels, many things involved in the tourism business. And number two is we have to think of clean energy. The gas and oil and fuel oil are depleting, and there is we have this climate change problem, real and serious. We have to think of how to find new sources of clean energy. We have to look at technology, fusion maybe. If you don't want to go nuclear, we have to look for new ways to make renewable energy sufficient and effective, and people have access to them. That is in the energy business. Agriculture, Thailand, we have to position ourselves after COVID-19 where we want to go with our agriculture business sector. We want to become the rice bowl of the world. What do we have to do? We have to put technology like digitalization of technology into agriculture, and how to increase yield per acreage, how to reduce the use of fertilizer, insecticides, and all that, and try to make output more organic. We hope that we can be the organic food producer of the world, and that is a challenge. I can go on with three more sector priorities, but the technology digitalization is something that we all have to work on, because it's a new age, a new kind of economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Since the theme of this dialogue is health and sustainable development, I'm so glad that you speak about clean energy, renewable energy, and also organic agriculture, putting not just human health, but also planetary health at the heart of economic revival in Thailand. Equally, as you mentioned, in one of Thailand's key recovery areas is the travel industry. I consider myself lucky to live in one of the most visited travel destinations in the world. We have pristine beaches, iconic architecture, and scrumptious food. This is no wonder why the travel industry contributes to a fair share of Thailand's economy. And I'm sure many people are curious to know when the land of smiles, as we say, will open to tourists. Your Excellency, how do you see the balance between reopening Thailand to tourism and migration and containing the spread of COVID-19 on the other hand?
Vaccine, and safeguarding. We cannot let our guard down. There also a need to harmonize. I understand there's some question about vaccine passport. There's a need to harmonize our vaccine protocol. How do we do that? We in ASEAN and ASEM are working on it, but it's still a while to go, because we are now in the middle of a second or third surge of the COVID-19. But it's we can think ahead, and we also have to use other measures, safeguarding measures, together with the vaccine, like protection, wearing masks. We have to change the way we live. It's unavoidable. The other day, there's in the news that forget about the old notion of festival, because there won't any more festival that as we know it. Something like that is a way of life, but we have to cope, and soon some lifestyle will come back and some will not. So we'll see.
As we're on the topic of vaccine, and you emphasized that several times, do you consider reopening the borders for vaccinated tourists? What would be the conditions if that were the case?
Well, as soon as we can have the harmonization of vaccine protocols, yes, we can take in tourists who are fully vaccinated and comply to the vaccine protocol, the accepted vaccine protocol. We also may have to keep the safeguarding measure intact if when in doubt, like the ASQ or but maybe shorter term of quarantine and other measures like certificate of health from before traveling, things like that.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. So far, we have had a rich discussion on traveling. Now we'll all travel to New Zealand virtually to join my colleague Pratibha, who is keen to have a conversation with you about multilateralism and global health. Over to you, Pratibha.
Thank you, Sarajana, and thank you, Your Excellency, for your remarks so far and for such an engaging discussion around health, well-being, and the economy. I think the issues that you've spoken on around tourism, around climate change, are issues that are also incredibly interlinked with multilateralism. And I think the pandemic has really demonstrated the need for collective action and working together on public health matters. Taking a regional perspective on multilateralism, I want to ask, on which issues and how should ASEAN and ASEM work to contribute to World Health Organization's goal of universal health coverage in the region?
Thank you. We have been working with WHO on UHC and the access to vaccines. We are a member of COVAX, and we will be contributing to COVAX. We are not taking from anything from COVAX, but we are contributing because we are manufacturing our AstraZeneca vaccine starting in June, and we will provide this vaccine to our ASEAN colleagues. And a couple of years ago, WHO started the ACT accelerator. Thailand is also part of this ACT accelerator. We also have this, ASEAN also has this Center for Active Aging and Innovation Center, which is related to this multilateral cooperation. The irony of COVID is when it started, everybody retrenched and closed down, they locked down the country, locked down the community, locked down the businesses. But it also highlighted the need for cooperation. No one is an island and no country is an island, and nobody is safe until everybody is safe. It's not a cliche anymore, it's true. And that's the basis for multilateralism. You also see effort like RCEP and CPTPP and many multilateral effort to enter into agreements that include healthcare, include climate change, include a lot of things that are important in our life, and including exchange of expertise, technology, and assistance.
Thank you. I think definitely ASEM and ASEAN's collaboration in the field of vaccine and research and innovation is so important to achieving World Health Organization's goal. You also mentioned a little bit about the irony of COVID, how it's caused us to retract a little, and just the incredible need for cooperation. Like you said, no country is an island. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on how global health governance is likely to be reformed in the context of COVID-19 and this apparently weakening multilateralism that we're experiencing around the world.
Is this a tough question? Because nationalism intensifies in this kind of situation. And the need to have an open engagement in dialogue is important. We don't have to do it all at once. We can do step by step, being mindful that that's the only way to go. I remember George P. Scholz, the former Secretary of State of the United States, once said that as a policymaker, it's like you are captain of a ship. You have to set the compass, but at the same time, you have to watch the telltales, the little piece of cloth that you put up the mast and see which way the wind blows. So you have to keep your eyes on both, but never, never, ever forget the compass. So you have the direction. Multilateralism is where we want to go, and we'll move towards that. But there may be some other things that we have to watch out for. But with that goal in mind, we won't get derailed.
Thank you. I think your vision for multilateralism as a sort of compass is really inspiring and heartening. And circling back to your priorities for Thailand that you mentioned, you talked a bit about clean energy and climate change. And I think we're all very keenly aware of how connected issues around health are to issues of environment and development. I'm very curious to know, as an advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, what do you see as some of the barriers to greater collaboration on global health and well-being and also sustainability and development?
As I said before, nationalism, the narrow nationalism, is nothing wrong with that, as long as every country believes that their best national interest is also the interest. It's about caring about other people's natural interests, and there may be an area where those interests could conjoin. The challenge is to find that Venn diagram that there's an area, that common interest that everybody can share, and that's a good start.
No, I totally agree, and I think finding those commonalities and finding that sense of higher purpose to the citizens around you is really important to tackling issues like the pandemic. You also mentioned that key to achieving SDG 3 and also tackling COVID-19 is having the right policy mix. Taking a more policy-directed focus to some of these issues, what health-related policies can ASEAN member states collectively implement in order to facilitate the reopening of intra-regional borders?
As I mentioned before, that we have to harmonize the vaccine protocol, and we can share the now experience, the knowledge, and we can come up with, actually we have come up with a fund for COVID response and prepare ourselves for we set up the Center for Emerging Diseases and prepare ourselves for the new one. Hopefully it doesn't come too soon, but that's the kind of areas of cooperation that we in ASEAN are doing.
Thank you. I think your vision, again, for cooperation, for global solidarity, this idea that no one is safe until everyone is safe is truly inspiring. As we're heading towards the end of this dialogue, I want to thank Your Excellency for your remarks today, as well as what has been an engaging discussion on health and well-being in Thailand, economic issues, and multilateralism. I'd now like to pass over to Leonie, who will facilitate the next part of the session.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for this engaging conversation. Allow me to comment on two things. I have omitted to highlight that your academic background is in English literature and philosophy, so it was nice to hear a poem within this conversation quoted by you. And it was also nice that you commented on the compass. And as our audience might have seen in the background of the moderators, we have a compass as our icon, as our logo for the Young Leaders Summit. And for those who look very closely, the compass doesn't have a needle. And we hope that with this program, we can put our young leaders on track to know which is the right direction towards sustainable development in a post-COVID-19 world. Compliments to our moderators. Thank you very much. And yeah, the Young Leaders Summit is a collaboration between ASEF and several partner organizations from Cambodia and also internationally. And with the Government of Cambodia hosting the upcoming 13th Summit, I would like to invite now His Excellency Samheng Bora, who's the Undersecretary of State of the Ministry of Commerce, to close the session and address the youth and also give us an outlook to the summit. His Excellency Samheng Bora, please.
Good evening from Cambodia. I would hope to firstly thank you, Excellency Pornpimol Kanchanalak, for the wonderful discussion that you shared with our youth. I think what you mentioned about the 4 I's is incredibly informative, and I think we share the same respect in terms of having set our priorities in creating better tourism as part of the recovery from the pandemic as we go forward as part of ASEAN. So thank you so much for your contribution. Excellency Pornpimol Kanchanalak, Ambassador Morikawa Toru, youth participants of Asia and Europe. It is an honor to be delivering this closing remark for this first ASEM Youth Dialogue with Excellency Pornpimol Kanchanalak, Advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Thailand. On behalf of all participants present here today, I would like to express our appreciation to Excellency Kanchanalak for taking your valuable time to share with us your insights and experience on leadership and well-being. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our youth from both Asia and Europe for your contribution towards the success of today's dialogue. It has been a very short year with a lot of things happening at the same time. And within this short year, the COVID-19 pandemic has radically transformed how we all, live, work, and interact with one another. And even on our plan for the future, it has not only caused suffering all around the world, but also has tragically taken many lives. As a result of pre-existing inequalities, the COVID-19 pandemic has also disproportionately impacted our youth worldwide. Young people, especially those living in developing countries, are more likely to lose their jobs, to find themselves in precarious situations. They also are at higher risk of being left behind in education due to unequal access to digital technologies, further exacerbating the consequences of missed opportunities. All these, compounded by their inability to do what they usually enjoyed, have deteriorated the well-being of our young people. This is why it's not surprising to see how well-being and mental well-being is rated so high among issues related to health for youth. And these interlinkages between good health and well-being, the global economy and other SDGs reinforce the notion that health is a priority in all of political agendas, for it is not only a precondition, but also a driver and outcome of sustainable development. As our future will be in the hands of our youth, it is in our best interest to not only ensure their well-being and health, but also create a conducive environment for them to flourish into future leaders. With their ingenuity, creativity, and aptitude for innovation, young people and entrepreneurs will be indispensable in realizing a post-pandemic recovery that will bring about more inclusive, sustainable and resilient future for all. Before we conclude, please allow me to express our sincere thanks again to all of our partners, organizers, and ASEF for your hard work in making today's event possible. I look forward to welcoming you in Cambodia later this year. With that, please allow me to officially conclude our ASEM Youth Dialogue and wish you all a good health and success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much, His Excellency Samheng Bora. And likewise, it is a true pleasure to work with the Cambodian institutions and with you. This brings us to the end of our session, and it has been an inspiring first ASEM Youth Dialogue. We would like, obviously, to capture the momentum, and I would like to ask the audience to switch on their cameras. those who are using the WebEx platform, please do so. We will take shortly a group photo.
Participants being on stage, I would like to invite Her Excellency Mrs. Pornpimol KANCHANALAK to share at the end some personal remarks with the ASEM youth. Your Excellency, would you have a message to the ASEM youth considering our theme today, SDG 3, Good Health and Wellbeing, and the overall topic of sustainable development?
Yes, there is a prepared statement that I have to read, but I'll add some more of my own. I wish to thank all of the young leaders here today for your questions and input, and thank you to ASEF for giving us the platform for engagement. Indeed, we plan for the future. It's crucial that we listen to the concerns and views of all stakeholders, such as yourself, and I have learned from your questions today, intergenerational discussions like ours can really bring people from different age groups closer together, boosting youth participation in the realization of the SDG. I would hope for you to remain engaged and compassionate and remember good health starts with you. And on the final note, I would like to say for Tolstoy, he say, and this too shall pass, the pandemic or whatever. So keep your hope alive and fight on. The future is in your hand. Thank you.
Wonderful, Your Excellency. Thank you very much. We will now count to 3 in Thai. I need Voradon's help for this, for a group photo. So for those who are on WebEx, if you would like to see everybody who's joined us today, you need to change the layout setting to grid view. And I hope you have all switched on your cameras. Voradon, please teach us how to count.
Okay. 1 2 3
Thank you so much. I think that left us enough time for a good smile at the end. I can only conclude right now, as Her Excellency said, we agree that more conversations are needed, intergenerational conversations, which we had today between youth leaders and a political leader. We need more conversations between different cultures, and ASEF and ASEF's education department are working on it.
We wish all you a good remaining day and look forward to the second ASEM Youth Dialogue, where we welcome an ASEM leader from Europe. See you again soon. พบกันใหม่ในกิจกรรมการพบปะหารือระหว่างผู้นำเยาวชนกับผู้นำอาเซียนในครั้งถัดไปนะครับ โดยในครั้งหน้าจะเป็นการหารือร่วมกับผู้นำจากประเทศยุโรปสำหรับวันนี้ทางคณะผู้จัดงานทั้งหมดก็ขอขอบพระคุณและสวัสดีครับ